For all its beauty and splendor, the wilderness can be a cruel teacher. Hiking allows you to immerse yourself in the natural world, away from the hustle and bustle of daily life. It provides an opportunity to appreciate the beauty of mountains, forests, lakes, and other scenic landscapes, fostering a deep sense of connection with nature. Hiking presents opportunities for exploration and discovery. Whether you're trekking through established trails or venturing off the beaten path, you can encounter new sights, flora, and fauna. The sense of adventure that comes with exploring unfamiliar territory can be incredibly rewarding. While hiking is generally a safe and enjoyable activity, like any outdoor activity, there are potential dangers, especially when you don't take the necessary precautions. Please click the subscribe and like buttons. This is Outdoor Disasters. The San Gabriels are a hulking and picturesque mountain range that runs east-west along the northern border of Los Angeles. Right where the city stops, the San Gabriels shoot up from near sea level to 10,000 feet, with the peaks holding a thick frosting of snow for much of the winter. The San Gabriel Mountains are a prominent feature of the landscape and provide a scenic backdrop to the city of Los Angeles. They are a popular destination for outdoor enthusiasts, offering numerous recreational activities. Hiking is a prominent activity with a vast network of trails catering to all skill levels. The range's highest summit is properly known as Mount San Antonio, but anyone who has been to or even seen its bare, wind-scoured summit hump knows it simply as Baldy. Mount Baldy is a popular destination for hikers and climbers due to its accessibility and stunning panoramic views. Several trails lead to the summit, including the popular Baldy Bowl Ski Hut Trail and the Devil's Backbone Trail. These trails offer varying levels of difficulty, with the Baldy Bowl Ski Hut Trail being the most direct and challenging route. Standing on top of its 10,064 feet towering summit provides a sense of grandeur. Its prominent peak rises above the surrounding landscape, offering commanding views and an awe-inspiring presence. For Sam Kim, he would leave a lasting presence on Mount Baldy. Sam Kim is an avid mountain hiker from Los Angeles, originally from South Korea. Sam was known to set grand goals, and it surprised no one when he vowed to climb Mount Baldy more than anyone. Sam's dedication to the mountains had slowly become the most important thing in his life. His wife, Sunny, their 4 children and 5 grandchildren had watched him evolve from hiking enthusiast to evangelist, from an every Sunday Catholic to someone who'd skip church to climb a mountain. And he'd vowed to climb Baldy 1,000 times before his 80th birthday. Sam was an expert at uphill climbs. When he came to America in 1981, he arrived as Suk Do Kim, 43 years old, a well-respected manager for the Bank of Seoul. After 17 years working in the South Korean capital, he was offered a position managing an American branch that served the growing Korean-American population in Los Angeles. So he became Sam. 3 years later, when his job transfer expired, he resigned so he could remain in his adopted home, later attaining citizenship in 1988. Together, Sam and Sunny opened a gas station and convenience store on the corner of Venice Boulevard and Vermont Avenue, south of Koreatown. Business was good, but after a decade without a break, Sam grew weary of the toil, the tension, and the violence. He and Sunny sold the convenience store and opened a gift shop in Burbank. Their newfound calm and leisure time compelled Sam to reconnect with his past. He began to daydream about hiking the hills beyond the city. He started out hitting the trail on weekends and holidays. Hiking in his native country was an expression of national pride, and Sam often reminisced about his own childhood spent galloping around the countryside where he lived. At age 69, 13 years after opening the gift shop, Sam retired. He began spending every free moment he had in the San Gabriels, gravitating toward long uphill slogs that require as much mental toughness as they do quad and lung strength. But as he neared 70, Sam had more questions about his life than answers. His relentless pursuit of the American dream left little time for looking inward, so he went looking for answers in the mountains. My father was a very spiritual person, and this became his time to reflect on his life. He began to say he felt God's spirit in the mountains more than at church, Sam's son David said. Sam first hiked to the summit of Mount Baldy in early 2000, but it wasn't until June 7, 2007, when he hiked to the top via the less traveled and less forgiving Ski Hut Trail, that he fell in love. He felt an instant bond with the mountain's steep switchbacks and returned to hike to its summit every chance he got, quietly accumulating ascents. He found freedom there and peace like he hadn't anywhere else. He was home. Sam entered a new, freer phase in his life. He was finally able to give himself fully to hiking, often with Sunny by his side. The next year, in 2008, the two began making annual trips back to Korea to section hike the 450-mile Baekdudaegan Trail. Sam would later write a guidebook about the trail. Meanwhile, he continued making his weekly, sometimes daily pilgrimages to Mount Baldy. By the end of 2013, it is estimated that Sam climbed Baldy 300 times. The camaraderie Sam found on the mountaintop extended to the quirky off-grid community in Baldy Canyon. Through brute repetition and an outgoing personality, he endeared himself to the locals. To reach the summit of Mount Baldy, it's an unforgiving nearly 4,000-foot ascent over 4.5 miles to the top. Beyond the map kiosk, the route starts out on a deceptively gentle fire road. Just 1 mile in, the steeper Ski Hut Trail zags away from the main Baldy Road Trail and up toward the Sierra Club's San Antonio Ski Hut. At the 80-year-old green cabin, the trees thin and the steep, scree-covered amphitheater of Baldy Bowl looms ahead. It was here on the summit that Sam saved the life of Ethan Ponce. In late November 2016, the same year Sam climbed Baldy 250 times, Ponce and a friend were trying to sneak in an ascent before the summit was consumed by an approaching storm. Ponce and his climbing partner did in fact make it to the top. However, by the time they arrived, so had the weather. Clouds engulfed us, winds gusted over 40 miles per hour, and sleet pounded our faces. And it was so cold my phone battery died, Ponce said. A few steps after starting down, just as Ponce was beginning to panic, he spotted Sam, who was on his way up. His eyelashes were covered in snow, Ponce says. I asked him if he would guide us back down. He said he would, under one condition, that we return to the summit with him for a selfie. Once, when Deputy Richard Farrow of West Valley Search and Rescue was looking for 4 lost hikers who had gotten stuck high on the mountain after dark, he ran into Sam at 2 a.m. Farrow asked Sam if he had seen anyone on the mountain. Sam tells me, "Don't worry, they're not injured, they're just lazy," Farrow recalls. By the end of 2016, Sam had climbed Baldy more than 750 times. He was known to set off at all hours and in all conditions, and his routine captivated other hikers. People started calling him the Spirit of Mount Baldy. He first made the news for his accomplishments. In 2016, the LA Times ran a story titled, "Hiking Mount Baldy? You'll probably meet Sam, a 78-year-old mountaineer." His legend was growing among the Southern California hiking community. Local bloggers posted about him, and message boards lit up with Sam sightings. He was also known as the Mayor of Mount Baldy. On the morning of Friday, April 7, 2017, Sam waited longer than usual for the freeways to thin out. He parked up at the Manker Flats trailhead that afternoon and set off up the Ski Hut Trail a couple of hours before sunset, with clouds descending. Shortly after he began his hike, the weather turned ugly. It was really bad, and by evening it was horrific. I lived in Claremont, at the bottom of Baldy Road, and if I can hear the storm outside my house, that means that at 10,000 feet it would be coming down hard, rain, snow, and whiteout conditions, Deputy Farrow said. Nevertheless, Sam had climbed Baldy in extreme conditions before, many times. Whatever he walked into that day wasn't anything he hadn't seen. I noticed it had rained that afternoon, and I remember thinking about him that evening. I wasn't worried, but I wondered if he was cold, his son David said. David woke up the next morning to sunny skies in LA. He called his mother to see if Sam had returned. He hadn't. But once again, David thought his father just had other plans that day. Or perhaps he had bunked down somewhere near the mountain or slept in his car and was already headed up the mountain again. He always came home. By late Saturday, there was still no word from Sam. David called his mother over and over, asking if she had heard from him. Finally, they both went to bed, fending off dueling emotions about Sam's invincibility and his vulnerability. He was a solo hiker nearing his 80th birthday, but also someone who knew Baldy better than almost any other human on the planet. The evening had slipped into the night. It wasn't unusual for Sam to keep odd hours, but his wife Sunny and his son David worried all the same. It wasn't the first time Sam had stayed out overnight. He would sometimes sleep in his car so that he could hit the trail at sunrise, but it was the first time he hadn't returned home without calling. The next morning, his phone was going straight to voicemail. Sunny was worried enough to call one of Sam's friends to see if he had heard from him. He hadn't. David, who lived just a few miles away from his parents, tried to fight the anxiety by reminding himself how tough his father was. David woke up before sunrise and drove by his parents' house. The driveway in the Culver City neighborhood of Los Angeles, where Sam's car normally sat, remained empty. The moment he noticed the empty driveway, his heart sank. He immediately began driving toward Mount Baldy. On the way, he phoned a hiking buddy of Sam, Dick Tufts, to ask him if he could see his dad's car in the parking area. Tufts confirmed that Sam's white Land Cruiser was there. He also immediately laced up his running shoes, grabbed a backpack, and set off to Ski Hut Trail. When David arrived in the village of Mount Baldy that morning, he stopped at the visitor center to file a missing persons report. It landed on Deputy Farrow's desk. When we had to search for Sam, we weren't just searching for an individual. We were searching for a friend, he says. I just couldn't believe it. Sam had always tried to encourage his son David to hike more, but David, who is a physician, says he was never really an outdoorsy guy. Even his two young sons had been up Mount Baldy more times than he had. That Sunday, however, David wanted nothing more than to climb Baldy to help search for his father. But the SAR crew insisted it would be safer for David to remain at the fire station. Instead, 30 or so trained volunteers fanned out toward the Sierra Club ski hut, while David waited nearby for any word about his father. The next morning, Sunny and her other son, Kenneth, arrived in Mount Baldy village. David and his younger brother were finally allowed to join the search, while their mother remained at the command post. As David and Kenneth made their way toward the top, for what would be David's 15th ascent and Kenneth's first, they shouted their father's name and hoped for a miracle. By Monday, more than 50 members of West Valley Search and Rescue were scouring the mountain looking for Sam, including a specially trained Alpine unit. At 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon, a full 4 days after Sam set off up the trail, Deputy Farrow got a call on his radio saying that the helicopter had spotted a body face down on the trailless north side of the mountain, about 2,000 feet below the summit. There was no mistaking the blue jacket. Sam was found in a steep, rocky bowl, which would have been rimed in snow and ice the last day he climbed Baldy. I honestly believe that when he began descending, he simply didn't turn far enough, Farrow says. He lost his bearing and ended up just slipping and going down that chute. The medical examiner suggested Sam likely died before his body came to rest. He died at 78. That's a respectable number of years. But more importantly, he lived 78 years and died on a mountain he loved, surrounded by the clear blue Southern California skies, and remembered by the outdoor community that he inspired. Everyone from Sam's family to Deputy Farrow is quick to point out one thing they are all certain of. Sam summited that day. At the time of his death at age 78, he had climbed Baldy more than 800 times and was on track to reach 1,000 by his 80th birthday. But despite Sam's own obsession with setting goals, numbers are not what defined him. Every climb mattered. That's something those left behind take comfort in. They may never fully understand what drove him to the top of that mountain again and again, but Sam did. Dick Tufts misses his friend, but sees the poetry of Sam dying while doing what he loved. I still feel like he is around me at times, he says, especially when I'm out there on the trail. Since his father's death, David has hiked Mount Baldy 9 more times and says he will continue to do so every Father's Day. It's the ultimate tribute, and it makes me feel closer to him, he explains. The cemetery where he is buried is only a couple miles from where I live, but when I go there, it doesn't seem like he's there. He's on Baldy. Reaching the summit of a challenging trail or completing a long-distance hike can evoke a tremendous sense of accomplishment. Overcoming physical and mental obstacles during a hike can boost your self-confidence and provide a lasting sense of satisfaction. Weather conditions can change rapidly in outdoor environments, and hikers may be exposed to extreme temperatures, rain, snow, or strong winds. It is crucial to check weather forecasts before embarking on a hike and be prepared with proper clothing, gear, and equipment to handle adverse conditions. Hiking in unfamiliar areas or poorly marked trails can lead to getting lost or disoriented. It is important to carry a detailed map, compass, or GPS device and have basic navigational skills. Staying on marked trails and informing others about your hiking plans can also help prevent getting lost. Hiking can be physically demanding, especially on longer or more challenging trails. Pushing beyond your physical limits without proper conditioning and preparation can result in fatigue, muscle strains, or other injuries. Gradually increasing the difficulty and duration of hikes, taking breaks, and listening to your body are crucial to avoid overexertion. To mitigate these risks, it is advisable to hike with a partner or in a group, inform others about your hiking plans, have a first aid kit, carry essential supplies, and be knowledgeable about the area you are hiking in. Additionally, familiarize yourself with any specific risks or guidelines provided by park authorities or local hiking organizations. Important tip so you can avoid an outdoor disaster.